Evaluating Quadratics. There's a couple of things that we need to keep in mind when we evaluate quadratic expressions or functions. For this first example, we need to remember to use our correct order of operations. So in PEMDAS, it's the E coming before the M. So we do the exponent, we square before we multiply. In this case, I'm taking the 3 and plugging it in for x. So I have 4 times 3 squared. And the really common mistake is to multiply first. To do 4 times 3 is 12 and then 12 squared. That's not what we want to do. We want to square first, so exponent first. 3 squared is 9. That gives us 4 times 9. And now we multiply, giving us our final answer, which is 36. 4 times 9 is 36. The second thing we want to keep in mind is that we can never distribute an exponent. So x plus 1 squared is not the same as x squared plus 1 squared. Let's go ahead and plug in 3 for x. And then I have 3 plus 1 squared. I cannot say that that is 3 squared plus 1 squared. I'm going to go ahead and add 3 and 1 first. That gives me 4. And then I need to square it. So 4 squared is just 16. And you can see that 3 squared plus 1 squared would have been 10. That would have been wrong. So go ahead and add first and then square. For this one, don't forget about invisible -1 coefficients. So the common mistake for this one would be to plug in the 6 for x and think that you were doing -6 squared. So that is not what this expression is doing. What this expression is doing is plugging in 6 for x, 6 squared, and then multiplying it by -1. So that negative happens after the squaring. There's going to be an exponent and then a multiplication by -1, and then we will subtract 3. So plugging in 6 for x, squaring 6, multiplying by -1, and then subtracting 3. So I have -1 times 36 minus 3. -1 times 36 is -36 minus 3, giving me my final answer, -39. For this last one, it is related. It's really important when we are evaluating for a negative value of x that we use parentheses. So when I'm plugging in -5 for x, I cannot write it like this. -5 without parentheses squared, I'm going to square and then multiply by -1, giving me -25. That is not correct. I'm plugging in -5 for x, so this expression x squared is -5 times -5, which is 25. So this is recognizing that the negative is attached to my x. -5 times -5 is positive 25. At the bottom of this toolkit is our list of perfect squares up to 20, and you should start getting comfortable with these perfect squares. 1 squared is 1, 2 squared is 4, 3 squared is 9, 4 squared is 16. In general, these are values that we expect you to have memorized, and if we were to have assessments, you wouldn't have a calculator for this sort of problem. So in any case, just go ahead and start practicing your perfect squares.